G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. It's good vibes. It's good vibes around the Carlton Football Club currently, and we're previewing the game against the Saints. How are you feeling, Pato? Just initially about the game.
Yeah, Daff, feeling. I reckon I'll say confident most week. I'm feeling confident, of course. Like we should win. Realistically, we should win. St Kilda aren't in the greatest form. Where probably played their greatest game of the season last week. So I think we should get the win. We should be favourites. I think we are favourites. We should be. But I think I'm confident. But it's once again, as I mentioned last episode, it's just a little bit of a danger game. But we'll see how we go.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot talked about today, just between me and other Carlton fans, just saying that St Kilda probably need to respond. But will their response be good enough to beat us? We'll have to see. But I think they'll have to respond, and I think they're solid when they get going. But I think we should get the job done. But we'll get into more depth about this. Last time we met, so it was an interesting game. I think it was round 18 last year. Charlie's return game. I think he kicked one from 50, one stepper. No crowd, which is, that last part of the year was pretty depressing, really. Just the way we were playing and no crowds, and footy was just not fun to watch at that time. So. And I think we won probably 5 goals. I think it was pretty easy. It was one of that year, I think.
Yeah, that's right. It was just a weird game because I think it was when we were out of lockdown, because I know that I went to the city to watch the game. I can actually remember. I can remember going into the city to watch the game, but we weren't allowed to have crowds in. So I think it was around the time when we were out of lockdown, but they were just being a little bit safe of having crowds back in at the games, which is fair enough. But yeah, it was a weird game because we were just absolutely shocking for 3 or 4 weeks prior. And then we won that game.
I think we lost to North the week before.
And Gold Coast. Was that the game?
Gold Coast is the week after.
After. Yeah. So we won, we beat St Kilda, and then all of a sudden we went back to shit. So it was just and then we lost to Port by 189 points or something. And then we lost to the Giants. I know, mate, but I'm just glad we're starting to see some hope, mate. It's just starting.
Yeah. Well, I think our wins are very different compared to last year's wins. Last year's were, I don't know, they were just based off individual, talent, really, not systems. So we can move past that shit. We'll look forward to more wins, hopefully. But we'll move on to our favourite Blues Saints memory. There's been a few cracking games actually against the Saints over the last, probably in our era, the 2000s and 2010s and recent kind of decade. What's your favourite Blues memory, Saints Blues memory?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, there's actually a few with Andrew Walker dominating that blue the blue Guernsey, but I don't know why. It always comes to mind when we play against St Kilda, and it was when Eddie Betts kicked that goal. I think it was 2005, 2006, when he kicked it left foot.
2006.
2006 left foot banana.
Yep. And I can recall where I was because I wasn't at the game. It's ridiculous. I don't know how I remember. I was walking through Crown Casino or something when I was tiny, not the actual casino. I wasn't getting on the pokies.
Right.
But I don't know. And I was watching on the TV or whatever at some pub, and I just remember watching that goal. That's the one memory from that long ago.
Yeah.
It always stuck in my head. But yeah, continue, mate.
But spot on, it was just a memory that because I don't even remember. I think other than
we were
that,
losing
probably
by 40.
Yeah.
We were down. Yeah.
And we were getting slaughtered, weren't we? We were getting absolutely smashed. And then next minute, I think other than that memory, I think the other kids' memory I had was Fab kicking 8 against Essendon. So I don't know why, but that always stuck into my mind. Yeah. And it, good that Eddie Betts was, because that was when he wasn't really much of a name and he was starting to grow. And when he kicked that left foot checks, I think it was a check side, but just sensational goal. And I don't know if that was nominated for goal of the year or not. It probably was nominated, but I don't think it won goal of the year. But that was a pretty good memory.
Yeah, that is one of those. And one of the memory for me is Walks kicking the winning goal against St Kilda on a Monday night, because we used to verse them on Monday night every year. And we were in the light blue strip, and I remember I was right behind, I think I was on level 3, right behind the goal. I'm like, shit myself. I didn't watch the kick. I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I could not watch the kick. And I just heard the crowd roar, and I was just going off like I was a little tacker. I was probably 9 years old or something. Yeah, going off. That was the year we were pretty good too, like pretty decent. So, but
what
yeah,
year was
that's
that? 2011?
2011.
Yeah.
Because that was when Walks was playing full forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a player.
What
What a player he was. He could play any role, that guy.
Oh, mate.
But yeah, hopefully Friday night brings more memories against the Saints. So we'll move on here. We'll just move on to our agenda. What are your honest opinions on St Kilda, and how do you reckon, from your personal view, their season is going?
It very, very on and off. Very hot and cold. Arguably the probably most hot and cold team. Like they can beat a team like Geelong. I think they beat Richmond as well. I don't know why that comes to mind, but they beat Richmond
10 goals. 10 goals.
And they smacked them. And I'm like, it's just very hard to read. And I'm telling you, I was talking to a mate today at work. This is the type of game that St Kilda will show up for. And this is the type of game that last year's Carlton would lose. So that's why I'm just a little bit nervous. I still think we are completely a changed team, changed side, changed club. Everywhere. So that's why I'm just a little bit, I've just got a little bit, like, as you say, probably most leagues, a little bit of PTSD, just a little bit nervous, but we should be fine. We should be fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, personally, I agree. I think they're hot and cold. I think most years they're pretty hot and cold. I kind of feel bad for their supporters because I think they've been hot and cold since their first premiership and only premiership. So they're just one of those sides. They're never on. Yeah. I think apart from probably that era where they had, Rewaltz and Goddards, probably 2009, 2010, 2011, around there when they were really, really good. And they probably should have won a flag around there. But since then, they've just been, either really terrible, but when they're never up. They're never up, top four. They're always just lurking around the 8. They're always, a few weeks ago, they were talking about being a top 4 team, and then they dropped game to Essendon, and that stuff that's killing. That kills supporters. That stuff. But where do you reckon they'll finish by round 23?
I don't reckon they'll make the 8. I generally don't think they'll make the 8. They had their chance, as you said. If you lose to Essendon, you don't deserve to make finals. Like Essendon, of course, in 2022 isn't the Essendon that we've really known, like the red hot Essendon that we've kind of known. But obviously, they would probably be the first to say that they haven't been themselves this year. So to lose to Essendon like that, with the type of football that they were playing, and it's not like they've been playing great. Like yes, they beat West Coast and they beat St Kilda, but they just haven't. Yeah, St Kilda. I just don't know. So I don't know if they deserve really to make finals because there's other teams like Collingwood, and I hate to say it, but Collingwood are a better side than St Kilda. Richmond are a better side than St Kilda. Sydney have shown on the weekend that they're a better side than St Kilda. Like 61 points or 62 points. Like, come on. Like, you can't, if you're losing to a fellow top 8 side by 60 points, I think that tells you that you're not good enough.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think you can't blow games against Essendon, who've won 2 games this year. And, they're just frustrating, as I said, for their fans. Like, I'm not trying to, feel bad all the time for them, but like, there's a certain point where it's like, fuck, do you really want to just bottom out and just rebuild, or do you want to actually hit, the trade really hard and win a premiership? They're just working around 6th to 10th. Every year. You never know when, like 2020, they made it. But then it was like the next year they were crap again. It was just like, what do you want to do? What are you? Yeah.
And one thing about that is how they always get kind of top up players to kind of be that premiership side. Like I think one year they got Crouch, Hill, Higgins, Butler, all the same season or across like 3 or 4 seasons. But they got Ryder, like they got all these guys in. So they have no excuses. And then they kind of give up all their draft picks to really get a genuine first round pick. I don't know. But it's a very, very interesting one, Duff.
Yeah, and I think, even those gets, they're very questionable. Very questionable. Like, do they really need a 34-year-old ruckman when they've got a Rowan Marshall? But this isn't Saints chat. We'll leave that to Saints Fan TV. I think that's their main channel, which are pretty good with content and that. So if you're a Saints supporter watching and you have not seen them, check them out. Who is a threat for us on Friday night, Pato?
I think St Kilda-wise, it has to be Steele. It has to be Steele. For them, it has to be Harry Mackay. They can't. I think they can probably hold a Charlie Curnow, but Harry Mackay's a different breed. I don't know if they can. I don't know if they have the.
They can't take them both.
They can't take them both. So it's either or. But I personally think that they can. If they really want to put Charlie Curnow away, they can. If they really try and put Mackay away, I personally don't think they can do that. Wilkie going on. I mean, we will touch it on a little bit later, but certain players like a Wilkie might go on Mackay. Come on. I think it's a big chance for either Mackay or Charlie to get a bag.
Yeah, especially this season's there's been a common, our forwards are in form at Marvel Stadium. I think, especially Charlie, he's been kicking. I think he hasn't kicked under 3 goals at Marvel this year, so including bags of 5, 6, and 4 on the weekend, I believe, 4 or 5 on the weekend. So. Yeah, for me, threat for us, probably Steele. But then you look at him, he came into the side last week and they lose by 60. So it's like, what is the problem at St Kilda? But for me, I think if we let Max King off the hook a little bit, he can be a threat. I think Lewis Young can do a job on him. But we've just got to be wary because, Young, he's been fantastic and we just can't just think he can just dominate a guy who's rated very highly, and according to Adam Cooney, he's going to be the best player in 5 years, which we don't believe. But it'll be interesting, and I just think I think it's more on us putting pressure on them. I think we've got more threats than they do, which is a positive. We'll move on to the potential inclusions. What are your potential inclusions, Pato?
Oh mate, I'm gonna put my Vossi hat on. I'm gonna. It's very stiff on the man. I love him. I love him. But Jesse Motlop, I just don't think he's just, I'm going to drop him. I think I would love to see him, like I mentioned, most players, but have a Josh Honey sort of few weeks, Stocker from last year, Dow like he's doing now, absolutely tear down the door and pretty much earn your right to get back into the side, which I reckon he's definitely up to because he's only 19, 18, whatever, however old he is. It's his first year. So I reckon it's good that he's gotten his experience. So I think he can always build from that. But also, obviously, with Jordan Boyd, I think it's very stiff on him because he was actually starting to play some really good footy. So I think it's quite unfortunate on him. But I think it's a fractured foot, which we'll mention a little bit later. But a fractured foot, it was very unfortunate, very stiff on the guy. So I feel actually quite bad for him because he was actually starting to get some really good football under his belt, and especially since actually being recruited from the mid-season draft from the Footscray Dogs. It's very stiff. But I'm bringing in the big Adam Chera if he's available. I think all reports is saying that he will be available.
He trained today, full training. He had some strapping on his knee, which wasn't the issue. It was a hammy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was a hammy tightness or something like that. So he trained fine. He's using both legs kicking. He didn't look like he held back. Which is a positive sign, I think, sometimes. So continue, Matt.
Yeah, no, but I think that's always good because I think it's all especially with those last few days before selection, you want to make sure that you can try and test your body as much as you can, and not have that at the back of your head saying, "Oh, I don't want to go too far, too hard." Because the worst thing to do is 5 minutes into Friday night, and he feels a little bit weird and be like, "Oh, okay." Also, my other guy is Matty Owies. Not sure about this. I was actually about to ask you about this, Daffy boy, but I always love his energy, and I think that is a big. It's a big way to kind of get the crowd and also the team up and about. So I think he would be a pretty good inclusion. What's your thoughts on Owies coming in?
Yeah, I don't mind it, but for me, he was training away from the main group as well today, and I think it was him, Cripper, and I'm not sure who else it was, but I think he's just got a bit of a, I think it was a calf. Was it a calf?
Yeah, calf.
Yeah. So I think it's more, precautionary and see if he can come up for the game. I hope he does. I think he will come into the side if Morlock does come out, but it'll be interesting, and I hope he's fit, but I don't want to risk him. I want him playing later in the year because I think he could be a big player come September.
Spot on. Absolutely spot on. So who are you bringing out and in, Daff? I'll pass the Vossi out to you, mate.
Yeah, the Vossi hat is on, mate. For me, obviously, Ches trained fantastic today. considering he's, been out the last few weeks. And hammies are very touchy, aren't they? Different to a kind of a knee injury or something. Just muscles are a bit tougher to recover from, and especially mentally, not thinking about an injury like that, like you touched on before. But for me, I think with Boyd coming out with the fractured foot, I think Stock comes in. I think he's been the last probably month or so in the twos, really earned the right to play. Once an injury or form drop, and obviously Boydie being injured, I think that's a straight swap. I think as a collective, I think the structure Vossi's been going with is, next man up, and that's position-wise too. Like, you're not going to, I think we've been talking about in heaps of episodes, a Cripps goes out, you're not going to bring in Jesse Motlop. Yeah. It's got to be a relative position, and it's worked out pretty well. So obviously them two in, and then Motlop, I think he's just not off, but not AFL like ready every week. And he's 18. He's got plenty of time. And I think, if he's called upon in a final or something to come in, I'm not going to be worried about that. I really like the way he goes about it. Even though he didn't have much of the ball on the weekend, every touch he had was impactful, and you could show the forward craft he's, learnt over a short period of time with the forward coaches is superb. I'm working with, small forwards like Durden, who's good mates with him, and Owies, and we don't have experienced small forwards, but they seem experienced. I think people aren't really talking about that enough. And also Boydie out, which is a shame. He's been one of our many stories this year, playing local footy in 2019 actually, for Spotswood, and then he thought his career was done. Got dropped from the ones at Spotswood because he went to a music festival midweek because he thought, what's the point? I'm not going to play AFL footy, which is, fair enough at some point. And then actually got a tryout at Footscray, did a tryout there, and then got a spot on their list. He didn't play the first few weeks, and then he played, and now he's playing for Carlton. And I think he's been superb, to be honest. Yeah. I like the way he goes about it. By footies, and he's fantastic. He has the will he's just hungry. It shows that he's taken the opportunity. Yeah. That the small opportunity that he's got. And he's been fantastic. I think that earns a contract for him, and hopefully comes back finals time, which would be good. So, and Medi sub setters, I reckon, setters a pet Medi sub, just in case a halfback goes out or a forward, he can kind of fill a few voids, but specifically the midfield.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I think so. Then mine's Setterfield as well, and I think you said it perfectly there. I just think with Setterfield especially, I don't know if a Fogarty or a Motlop. I don't like having those players as medical sub. I rate them both, absolutely love them with a passion. But Setterfield is more that guy. If an Owies does go out, you can shuffle them around and you can bring in Setterfield maybe, or you can and say, as you said, even if maybe touch wood, but hopefully if Nick Newman gets injured, you can kind of shuffle maybe a Lockie O'Brien to go back and Will Setterfield go on the wing. We can work that around with Will Setterfield being a medical sub, but Let's get into the key matchups, Daffy boy.
Yep, key matchups as always. A lot of research going into these. But we touched on St Kilda's team at the start of the video. Touched on a few threats and a few key players for them. One of their key players, obviously a key defender in Callum Wilkie, who's I don't really know what he is. Is he elite? Is he good? I think he's okay. I think he goes all right. He's serviceable. Maybe that's the word for him. But he's going to have to take Harry or Charlie. I think it'll be Harry. I think Battle will take Charlie. And geez, if you look at those two matchups, we really need to just win the ball out of the middle, and I think we'll be fine. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this matchup? How do you reckon Harry will go against a defender who I think he's solid? I think he's solid for his height. I don't think he's probably undersized. Obviously, Harry's massive, but I think he's serviceable.
Yeah, you couldn't really say any better, just because I think Wilkie, I know that we have a certain uni mate Daffy boy that kind of rates the big Wilkie, Marky Woods. So I think Wilkie. No, of course, it's tough because I don't watch a lot of St Kilda.
And I don't want to. And quickly, I don't want a Larky moment. I rate him. I actually rate him. Exactly. I'm not saying bad at all. He's not bad at all. Yeah. He's playing AFL right. He's a defender, key back, plays every week. Yeah. And I think he was almost All Australian last year or the year before, which surprised me. But we'll move on.
Was he? Well,
Yeah, 2020. I think. Well, the Saints thought they were going to win the flag in 2020.
yeah.
But continue, mate.
moving on. But yeah, no, I think as I said, I don't watch like enough St Kilda games, so I think definitely by looking at these two names, Wilkie, I know who Cam Wilkie is, so of course he's a solid defender. I've heard a lot about him. I've heard that he's having a great season, but I've heard that a lot by St Kilda fans. So that's a thing. Like, yes, you might be playing on I know, like, I don't know if he was playing on like a Peter Wright, but even if he was, but a lot of like forwards that he's playing on might not be the type of player like Harry Mackay or a Charlie Curnow. So it's going to be interesting to see how Wilkie goes against Mackay. But yeah, as you said, I think looking at these two names and especially Battle v Curnow, if that happens, I think if we win it out of the middle, I think we're going to have a good chance to win.
Yeah, and I think that's based off Saturday's game. We just bullied them in the middle 3-0. Yeah. So hopefully, I think we can bully St Kilda, but it'll be interesting. Obviously, they're going to respond, so we've got to expect that. And, it could be a tight one. But we'll move on. Every single year, this is the matchup everyone talks about, especially when we were complete, utter dog shit. It's Cripper against Jack Steele. They've had some matchups. I think Steele used to tag him before Steele was like a superstar. And now he's really coming to his own, and he's a fantastic leader for them and player for them. He's by far their best player. Yeah. Just being able to work inside and outside, very similar to a Walsh actually. Can those mids that can go inside and outside, they hurt teams because they can use the ball by foot and also go in and get the hard ball. But what do you reckon about this matchup?
Yeah, I reckon Steele's probably would be. It would be the first one to kind of say that he kind of modeled his game off Cripper, because I reckon with Steele, like, I've rated him for years, even when he was starting to tag Cripper. I'm like, why wouldn't you unleash him and actually put him in the midfield and start playing as like a 30 disposal player? And as soon as they started to did that, look what happened. Like, he was probably one of the favourites last year to win the Brownlow if he was actually playing this year. Like, he was one of my picks to probably get up there along with Walshy and Cripper. So I think that, like, he's a fantastic player, as you said. So it's going to be interesting to see how Steele responds, especially from last week, having that one game back. That kind of makes me a little bit nervous. So I think Cripper is definitely up to it, but also it's going to be interesting to see how Steele goes, because as soon as he starts to get a lot of the ball, he's dangerous.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be around the midfield again. I know every game we talk about how it's got to be the mids, but especially against a team like St Kilda, you don't want them getting a run, because when they get a run on, especially at Marvel, they tend to get on run-ons when they're going, and hopefully they're not going at all on Friday night. But yeah, personally, I think Cripper can take him, and it's more about being able to not worry about Steele, but just being able to just not let those, Seb Rosses have big games and these other midfielders. Because if Steele might just have a ripping game and you can't stop that, but if you can stop the impact of every other midfielder, we'll be fine. So we'll move on to the ruck. TDK, he's been enormous, I think, this year, and his growth is, 22? That's ridiculous. He's one of the most informed ruckmen, in my opinion, just based on the way he goes about it around the ground. He's moving around like a 6'2" midfielder. For me, the Saints have a good ruck combo, and I think Ryder was rested last week, which was one of the most ridiculous calls I've ever seen after a bye.
Yeah, he was managed. Yeah, so I think they're kind of the same thing. But come on.
But Saints fans weren't very happy with that. And Marshall, I think, just signed a 5-year deal. Yeah, the Saints. So that's a big deal. Yeah. For the Saints, I rate him, but he just needs to stay in the park for mine. I think he gets injured a little bit. He's a bit injury prone. Yeah. What do you reckon about this matchup? Yeah,
I think it will be a big test for TDK just because if Ryder comes back, I think there's talks that he will come back. So they're two very good ruckmen. Very good ruckmen. And I don't think TDK has really had this sort of test before. Him and Silvani up against two, like Marshall, I rate so highly. Seriously, I reckon he's probably on the verge of becoming one of the best ruckmen in the comp, seriously. And Ryder, we all know how good Ryder is. So I'm nervous about this. I reckon this is where it could probably be. Yeah, no, seriously. I reckon, of course, TDK, he's been terrific, and this is probably his biggest test. And of course, he will be up to it. But when these guys are on, this is when St Kilda play well. And I'm saying that right now. So that's why, I mean, obviously I'm not going to say that these guys are going to absolutely dominate and win the game. But if they start to get a roll on, if big Paddy Ryder kicks 5 goals, 3, Daffy boy, I'll be a little bit nervous. But I think TDK, and especially with Sauce, with his unique sort of ruck style, playing as that fourth midfielder, I think it will be a test for especially for Ryder. I don't think he can keep up with Sauce. But also with TDK playing against Ryder and Marshall, it will be interesting to see. But what's your thoughts, mate?
I think I back TDK a lot here. I think Marshall is young as well. I think he's around the same age-ish, probably maybe a year or two older.
I think he's a little bit older, yeah.
Tommy. I just feel like their rucks, when they're not going, that's when it hurts them, the Saints. Like, they just tend to be, drifting around, not doing much around the ground. I think Marshall's good. Both of them are good when they go forward, but it's more about the work they do when they're actually in the ruck.
Yeah.
And I think TDK can hurt them by doing that, because they might win the hitouts, but if our mids, like we did on the weekend, use those hitouts from the opposition to our advantage, then it's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
So I think TDK can do it, but it will be interesting. The last matchup, Lewis Young, I think this is going to be his last week without his partner in crime in Jacob Wiedering against big Max King, who he's a talent. I rate him very highly. I just think he's struggled the last few weeks, but we can't underestimate him. Sorry about that. But what do you reckon about this matchup, Pato?
Yeah, I think it's good that you said actually there, like how it's kind of your partner in crime, because we've been saying that about Jones and Wedering for the past 3 years, and that just shows how seamlessly Young has just come into this side, and he's pretty much been put under the pressure to be the next Liam Jones. And actually taking it with both hands, or should I say one hand as in a spoiled Daffy boy, because my word, I reckon he's probably leading. I reckon he'll get the most spoils out of everyone in any era in the next 2 games, mate. I reckon this week he'll get about 25,000 spoils. Week after he'll get 19,130. So I think, obviously, to be serious, I think King's a pretty good player. I think, who was it who mentioned, I think it was Cooney, yeah, Cooney, who was saying a little bit about how King might be one of, if not the best player, alongside Connor Rosie, Daffy boy. So it will be interesting to see what happens. But I think Young is definitely up to it. I think he's been in the best form of his career by far. But what's your thoughts, mate?
I think without the way our back six is playing, and just the overall 18 on the field defensively, I think we can stop a King as a collective, helping Young and obviously setting up well, covering leading lanes and stuff like that. If they're getting an inside 50, a Doc can cut off and hit it in front, or just being able to block, because he leads at the footy very well, King. I think if he can just, cover that off, because I think if it's in the air on top of his head, I think Youngie can cover that. But once it's out in front, I think it's very similar with Harry Mackay. He can take marks both ways because he's a superstar, but he predominantly likes it in front, when you bullet pass to the chest. So it will be interesting. I like King. I like the way he goes about it, but hopefully he stays out of form on Friday night.
We'll go back to you, mate, for, of course, the match predictions.
Yep. So match predictions. I'll go straight back to you, Pato. Just a bit of a forehand down the line. Back to you, mate. What's your predictions for the match against St Kilda?
Yeah. So some would say optimistic. I don't reckon it's optimistic compared to yours, mate. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But honestly, I've gone first goal, Harry Mackay. I think they said the exact same thing last week. I reckon if he can get running, if Wilkie does go to him, I reckon Harry Mackay will be up and running with that first goal. Of course, best on ground. I've gone Cripper again. It's very hard to go against Walshy, but it's also I don't really want to go for Walshy, so I want to change it up. I reckon Cripper. He's not really had the Cripper sort of performance for a couple of weeks, so I would love to see him just dominate. If he gets running, I reckon St Kilda can stop him. I think the only option is Steele tagging him, and if we can get Steele to tag Cripps, we've pretty much won the game. We pretty much won the game. So, and then also, of course, my margin is Blue Baggers by 33 points. I know that a certain mate of mine, Barney, would be pretty pissed at me for saying that because he'll be like, oh, no, he's been optimistic again. But we'll move back to you, mate, because what's your tips?
Yeah, well, to be honest, we've been optimistic all year and we've been right most of the time. So last week I was only 5 points off the margin. So if you want tips on the game, just chuck us a DM.
Yeah.
Nah, joking. But for me, first goal, Charlie Curnow. Marvel is Carlton's fortress and Charlie Curnow's fortress. He's kicked, I don't know how, I've lost count of how many fucking bags of goals he kicked there.
Yeah.
Including a 7 a few years ago against the Dogs. Got Sammy Walsh, best on ground. He is the best player at the football club. He's the best player we have right now, and that shows how good he is because we've got so many stars. Like today, you just realise how many superstars we have around. I think we're spoiled. We are. We have it like this year, especially some players. The growth of players, like people have been saying, if you just get every player improve by 5% at least, the club will fucking rise. And what's happened? Exactly. Players get better, 5%, 10% better as a collective, and it works.
Growing.
Yeah, Walshy best on ground. I think he will kill the Saints. I think he will slaughter them inside and out. And the Blue Baggers, I'm going a heavy margin. I think we're due to go a 40-50. The Blue Baggers by 47 points. Mitchell?
Mate, I reckon, of course, I will be cheering on the Baggers. Like, I'll be like, come on, please get close to Daffy's score. Please get close to Daffy's score. But also, if it's about 2 or 3 points with 5 minutes to go, I'll be like, shit. I'll be a little bit nervous. But, of course, we have to be optimistic. I think, realistically, it's probably in our right to be optimistic, especially with how we've played the past, especially last week, and how St Kilda have been playing the past couple of weeks. So I think it's in our right to kind of just be up and about. Let's be real, we haven't experienced this. So I think it's kind of like we kind of can be optimistic about it. But if we do lose on the weekend, it's going to be, I don't know how to see it because the same as last week, how I saw the game against Fremantle, I don't see us losing. So, of course, this clip might then be cut after the game where we do lose. But I don't see us losing because...
I get your perspective on a game. You're more thinking about how are we going to lose the game?
Exactly.
Rather than, every week last year, you'd go, how the hell are we going to win?
Yeah.
Rather than... Now I'm thinking, how the hell are we going to lose?
How are we going to lose?
How are we going to lose this game?
Yeah. And I purely think that would be down to the structure.
Yes, it is.
I trust the structure. I trust these players. When Zach Fisher goes for the ball, Durden's back. So if he goes up, Durden's still back. You've got Harry Mackay. If they go into the back line, Lewis Young is the last person on the back line. And then even if he's not, Nick Newman's there.
Yep.
So it's just stuff like that. Like even Lockie Plowman, who we haven't mentioned all episode, he's another guy that will be down there. So it's just stuff like that. I'm very excited to see how our structure will go, but I'm also very wary just to know how St Kilda can actually go because this pretty much for them, it's now or never. If they want to make the top 8, it's now or never. But how good would it be a statement win, as you said, a 47-point win over St Kilda, playing a never say die sort of game, and we can beat them by 47. We've made a statement. You can't ask for much more. We beat Fremantle. We beat St Kilda, a team who is meant to be, I wouldn't say top 4, but they've, as I said, they're playing for their lives at the moment. So if they don't win this game, they're not making the 8. That's how I see it. So if we can beat them and we beat them by a bit, helps our percentage for top 4, but also Saints are out of the 8.
Yeah. And personally, if we win by a point, I'm happy. I just take a win.
Yeah.
Every week, I think a win's, more. Well, it's not more important, but just get the win. Just get the win, get it done, get the 4 points, get the fuck out of there, and move on to West Coast. But I'm wary every week. In the back of my head, 5% of my brain goes, it's clawing, it's going, oh, there's something about this game. But
Yeah.
last week had that bit of feeling as well.
Yeah.
I think leading into the game, I didn't feel as much pressure just due to us being the underdogs. But us being favourites, it just has there's this certain thing that's clawing at me. And I don't know what it is, but I'm confident at the same time, which it's weird. It's a very weird feeling right now. I'm confident. We'll get the job done, I think.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just, when we're going to win because it's the way we play. Like if we're dominating through the middle, like we did in the first quarter versus Freo, even though we were losing, I knew we were going to break through and kick goals. I knew it. Like I knew it's going to happen. These guys are finding, like, they have that hunt. Like they don't go, oh, we didn't take our chances that quarter. Oh, we're gonna be fucked, and then lose the game. They do it, and they think, fuck, if we just keep doing this, we'll break the door open. And that could happen against the Saints. We could be down at halftime. We could be down at 3/4 time. But if we're just knocking on the door, we'll get there. But I think we'll get there. For VFL, no game this week, which is weird. I think they had a bye very recently too. The VFL, so it's a bit of a shame. I'm sure they'll play some sort of scratch match against maybe another team or something like that. I think they did that for the last bye, so hopefully they get some run in their legs. But other than that, do you have anything else to touch on for the game, Pato?
Yeah, like I think with the VFL game, I think it's a good chance, even if they do a scratch match, because you give guys I paid out. If Liam Stocker's not playing, you have him another chance to really get going. Jesse Motlop, if he gets dropped, to go back into the side and really start to work on his craft, like all these guys. So I think, like Murkov, as we mentioned as well, like if he can dominate again, he can absolutely tear down the door. Seriously, you can't really not look at a 7-foot player who's absolutely tearing down the door. So I think, like as you said, it's weird. It's weird that they are playing a game like of course it's a bye, but like I feel like we just had one. So that's why it's quite unusual. But other than that, mate, excited for Friday night. Are you going?
Yep, sure am, mate.
Yep, Marvel Stadium, 7:50. So I think will be an interesting game. I mean, as we said, pretty much a whole episode. We're confident. Of course, we're confident. We have to be confident. We are confident, but it's just purely down to how I think, as you said, if we're getting 19 inside 50s in the first quarter once again, I know for a fact, they're going to stick to that for the next 3 quarters. The other team won't. It doesn't matter who it is. They won't be able to keep up. They won't be able to keep up. They won't be able to.
And for me, it's like, I know there's going to be a 5-10 minute patch where we kick 4 goals.
Yeah.
When's that going to come?
Yeah.
When is it going to come?
Yeah.
It's happened every single game.
Exactly.
Even the games we lose.
Yeah.
We have little patches, 10-minute patch against Richmond.
Yeah.
We almost won the fucking game and we were terrible all game.
Yeah.
Like, obviously that was a frustrating game.
Yeah.
But we've got our 5-10 minute patch where it's just like scoring. Like against Sydney, that second quarter, I think it was the first 10-15 minutes. We just obliterated them. Smashed them.
Yeah.
When's that going to come? You go, fuck, as a Saints fan, you go, fuck it. When are they going to do it? How are we going to be able to stop the flow of goals?
Yeah.
We've pretty much touched on a lot of things here. It's been a quite an insightful episode. It's a very interesting match. Big game for the Saints. Big game for us, I think. I think we can knock off the Saints. I think top 4 aspirations are really on. I think they're really on. Considering, especially next week against the Eagles, it won't be easy over there. But, I think if we get the job done here, and then we've got, I think we've got West Coast, Geelong Giants, Adelaide. So you probably go, fuck, we should win some of those games. They're winnable. Every game's winnable now. I think we're good enough. Yeah. But certain games where you've got to get the job done against like Adelaide, and that, respect to them, but they're at a different point of their rebuild and system. So anything else to add on, mate?
No, mate. Just very excited for Friday night, mate. Very excited.
Yep, send them off, Pato. Quickly, just don't forget to subscribe. We've been getting, the last couple weeks have been fantastic. People getting on board. There's obviously a good vibe around the club right now. I think we're nearing 300 subscribers, which is, we thank you guys. We enjoy doing this. So what are we on now, Pato?
5 away, mate. 5 away. So 5 more. If we get 5 by tonight, I'll be happy.
We get 300 by next episode we'll be very happy. But yeah, we just enjoy doing this. There's so many Carlton podcasts out there. There's 10, 15 podcasts out there, and it's just great to see everyone's, views. And, we like talking footy. We talk Carlton all day, every day. So we may as well share that with the rest of the fan base. So if you've got any, comments, or if you want us to add anything to our shows, just chuck a comment down below. So in the end, send them off, Pato.
Very well said, Daffy boy. And as always, Daffy boy and the Baggers. Up the Baggers.